Hey there movie lovers, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're travelling into the world of Immortals with the 1986 fantasy classic Highlander. This cult favourite, blending sword fights, lightning and rock music, became a defining film of the 80s and spawned an entire franchise. But how much do you really know about what went on behind the scenes? So grab your sword and remember, there can be only one, as we explore 20 things you never knew about Highlander. The script originated as a university student's senior thesis. In 1982, Gregory Wyden was studying film at UCLA when he was tasked with writing a feature-length screenplay as his final project for a theatre arts class. Drawing inspiration from a visit to a London armoury, Wyden crafted a story about an immortal named MacLeod who could only be killed by beheading. Another immortal, the ruthless Kurgan, sought MacLeod's head in order to claim the mysterious prize reserved for the last of their kind. Encouraged by his instructor, Wyden sent the script to 6 agents, one of whom successfully managed to sell it. The main role was originally offered to Kurt Russell. At the time, Russell was a former Disney child star who had gained attention for his collaborations with John Carpenter on Escape from New York and The Thing. Highlander director Russell Mulcahy met with him to discuss the part, and Russell seemed eager to accept. However, Mulcahy later said that Russell's girlfriend Goldie Hawn persuaded him to turn it down. After considering Russell and the Beastmaster star Mark Singer for the role of MacLeod, Russell Mulcahy ultimately chose Christopher Lambert, whose only major American film credit at the time was his portrayal of Tarzan in 1984's Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. Scott Glenn and Roy Scheider were the original choices for the role of the Kurgan before the character was changed to a brutal barbarian psychopath. Arnie was also offered the role but turned it down. Rutger Hauer and Nick Nolte were also considered for the role until Clancy Brown was cast. Christopher Lambert could barely speak English when he landed the role. Apart from a few grunts, he had little dialogue as Tarzan, so the director was unaware of his limited English when casting him in Highlander. In the end, Lambert's distinctive accent from being raised in Switzerland proved to be an advantage, perfectly suiting a character who had lived through and adapted to numerous cultures over the course of 400 years. Not only could Lambert barely speak English, he could barely see as well, making Christopher Lambert surprisingly dangerous with a sword. Despite his reputation for taking on physically demanding roles involving stunt work, Lambert is severely short-sighted and wears glasses whenever he's not in front of the camera. This occasionally proved hazardous for both his own thumbs and those of others during sword-fighting scenes. The special effects team wanted to make the sword fights more thrilling, but with computer-generated imagery not yet an option, they had to get creative. To produce sparks during the duels, they cleverly rigged the swords to car batteries hidden from the camera's view. Every time the blades clashed, real sparks flew literally. Queen had originally been scheduled to write only one song for the film, but the subject matter inspired them so profoundly that they went on to create several more, helping to make the soundtrack one of the most iconic in film history. Among these was It's a Kind of Magic, which was featured during the end credits. After viewing an unfinished cut of the film, lead guitarist Brian May composed the now classic Who Wants to Live Forever. The song has remained a cornerstone of the franchise for decades, evoking deep emotion as a reminder of the heartbreak that comes from witnessing the loss of loved ones while enduring the passage of time as an immortal. Although they composed several songs specifically for the film, no official soundtrack was issued. But Queen did release the album A Kind of Magic, featuring songs from the film. Sean Connery filmed for just 7 days. As a major international star, Connery managed to secure an impressive salary while keeping his time on set to a minimum. To portray Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, MacLeod's centuries-old Spanish mentor, he completed all his scenes within a week. He even recorded his voiceover in a Spanish villa rather than a studio, resulting in a peculiar echo effect that the producers ultimately decided to leave in the finished film. Even with a handsome pay packet for just a week's work, Connery still found time to criticize the production. According to the director, Connery enjoyed gathering him and the producers to discuss what he believed the crew was doing wrong. He explained that Connery could not tolerate any form of inefficiency and would regularly offer his views on why certain people were not performing their roles correctly. Although this amounted to free advice, albeit very costly, none of the team initially felt it was necessary. However, Mulcahy noted that Connery's attitude shifted once he saw the dailies. The climactic duel between the Kurgan and MacLeod was intended to take place atop the Statue of Liberty, but the director decided against it after noting that other films, including the previous year's Remo Williams, had already used a similar concept. This, along with logistical challenges and practical considerations, led the team to relocate the scene. The sequence was filmed at the Silvercup Movie Studios, where the filmmakers could fully manipulate the setting, lighting, and special effects to create a tense and visually memorable showdown. Russell Mulcahy had originally envisioned the final battle with the Kurgan extending beyond the moment of his beheading. His plan included an animated dragon, shaped like the helmet the Kurgan wore at the beginning of the film. This dragon was intended to test MacLeod in a way he was unprepared for, having spent centuries fighting opponents sword to sword. Only after overcoming this ultimate challenge would he claim the final prize. Unfortunately, the budget left no room for such an elaborate climax. Contrary to popular belief, the sword fight between Connor and Fasil was not filmed in New York's Madison Square Garden, as many fans assume. Instead, the scene was actually shot in the car park of Earl's Court 2 in London, England. The filmmakers cleverly transformed the ordinary parking structure into a convincing arena for this climactic duel, utilizing creative camera angles, lighting, and set design to give the illusion of a grand urban battleground. In an interview shortly after the film's release, Brown admitted he was somewhat disappointed that the movie prioritized action over philosophical depth. He also felt it would have been more compelling for the character to wear a suit and bowler hat. He explained that while audiences might expect a heavy metal punk adorned with skulls to be the villain, the truly tough and ruthless individuals do not necessarily dress or look that way. Unfortunately for him, his suggestions for a more subtle portrayal went unheeded. Clancy Brown may have intimidated both cast and crew with his imposing stature and formidable performances, yet he was reportedly as nervous as a kitten when filming a scene with Sean Connery. Brown was originally meant to rush in and slice a table in half before engaging Connery in combat. However, the director revealed that Brown instead swung at a candelabra and nearly struck Connery, an incident that could have gone down as one of the worst on-set accidents in film history. Connery reportedly stormed off in anger, prompting Brown to apologize profusely. The matter was quickly resolved, with Connery lightening the mood by joking that Brown should use his stunt double for such scenes. While the film offers only a brief glimpse into the Kurgan's violent history, the novelization delves far deeper. It discloses that the Kurgan initially died at the hands of his own father, only to awaken as an immortal and kill him in turn. From that point, the Kurgan took part in blood-soaked campaigns with humble bandits before rising through the ranks to join the Vandals, the Goths, and later figures such as Attila the Hun, the Vikings, and Genghis Khan, among others. The film's opening scenes depict battles between warring clans in the Scottish Highlands, but the extras brought in to support the action proved to be rather over-enthusiastic. Their on-set antics required a full medical team to handle the numerous accidents that occurred during filming. According to reports, the extras often took lunch breaks that consisted largely of alcoholic beverages. They were then handed weapons and instructed to make the battle scenes convincing with predictable chaotic results. Many deleted scenes from the original film might have appeared in a future director's cut, but they were unfortunately lost forever in a warehouse fire. Among the lost footage were a battle between the Kurgan and a dual sword-wielding Asian immortal named Young Dol Kim, a flashback featuring Connor and Castagear, and a scene in which MacLeod shows Brenda his katana blade. A few stills from the Asian battle sequence survived, some in colour, others in black and white, and were later used in the Highlander collectible card game for cards featuring the Kim character. The opening wrestling match featured the fabulous Freebirds, facing an unofficial tag team made up of members from the American Wrestling Association. The scene was originally meant to be set during a hockey game, but the league refused permission for filming, as the crew had planned to highlight the violent nature of the game. The European version of the film included scenes that were absent from the American release. The director's cut is based on this version and runs 8 minutes longer than the US edition. Some of the scenes removed were Connor being repeatedly headbutted by one of his clansmen, the duelist shooting his assistant, and the Kurgan licking the priest's hand. Highlander spawned a huge franchise, including sequels, animated films, novels, comics, web series, and a TV series. The TV show, cleverly called Highlander the Series, ran for 6 seasons from 1992 to 1998 and became an early internet sensation. The series, which was often scheduled for late night or weekday afternoon slots, followed the adventures of Duncan MacLeod. The show developed a cult following, with numerous active discussion groups and hundreds of web pages dedicated to it. A level of online engagement at the time only matched by Star Trek. A reboot is coming, with Henry Cavill confirmed as MacLeod and Chad Stahelski directing from a screenplay by Mike Finch. Russell Crowe was announced as joining the cast as Ramirez, while Dave Bautista was cast as the Kurgan and Karen Gillan as Heather MacLeod. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Highlander. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.